Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talk Sox. It is so good to talk to you guys once again about the Red Sox. Of course, nothing is really going on right now, except the rumor mill keeps on spinning, and Brandon and I are always here to talk about it. Brandon, it is really exciting because there is so much to talk about, and there are so many potential players that we'd like to mention here of possibly headed to Fenway. So I'm just going to throw it over to you really quick. What are you hearing across the rumor mill?
Yeah, I mean, so right now at the time of this recording, the general manager meetings are going on in Las Vegas. We at Diamond Centric have a few people there collecting quotes from obviously like Craig Breslow and some of the other executives that are there for the Red Sox. There's again, like you just said, there's not a lot going on right now. It's early in the off season. The baseball off season really only tends to heat up once the winter meetings begin in, early December, and then obviously from there until spring training. Right now, what we know, what we've heard for sure is that Craig Breslow said Trevor Story's going to stick at shortstop, which not too surprising. Obviously, had a really nice offensive season. Defensively, I think he's a better fit at second base, but Story, I'm sure, wants to keep playing shortstop. So, that's going to be locked in. That probably means Marcelo Meyer's going to play second base. He could move to third base depending on what happens with Alex Bregman, who knows what's going to happen with Alex Bregman. So there's a lot of moving parts. We also know obviously that Christian Campbell is going to be in the outfield permanently now. So again, there's just a lot of log jams on the roster. There's a lot of, moving parts with what needs to happen in the offseason. The Red Sox are going to be super primed to make a trade, whether, dipping into their outfield depth and even, some of their, high minors infield depth. So I'll be interested to see, but obviously I know the big talk right now is some of the free agents that are out there.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think who could be headed to Boston next. I mean, Dylan Cease has been like the talk of the town of
Hmm.
pitchers, and God only knows that we need pitchers. I mean, of course, big love to Brian Bayo, who, has been with Boston for quite some time, but we need another starter for God's sakes.
Yeah.
We can't put all our chips on one number at the end of the day. So I think Dylan Cease is the big talk right now, but of course, the big problem with this is that every single team in the MLB right now is also looking at Dylan Cease. So that's kind of a problem. There's these rumors, kind of people talking about Devin Williams from the Yankees. That's, who's to say? But I feel like our bullpen is the big thing that everybody really needs to focus on right now. The other thing that I always love to focus on is those boys from Japan, Munetaka Murakami. I want to talk about him for a second. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's the big Japanese free agent. Obviously, there's a couple. Ime is also going to be a free agent. Okamoto is going to be a free agent who plays the same positions as Murakami, but Murakami's the big one. He's going to get a really big contract, probably not $200 million, but as like a 25-year-old who hits 30, 40 home runs a year, it's going to be a lot of money. So, again, there's a lot of issues with his profile. He strikes out a bunch. He's probably going to be stuck at first base when he comes to the majors, and he struggles with velocity. Those are not great signs, even though he's obviously in his mid 20s and in the middle of his prime. Those are not great signs, to pretend future success. That being said, he's exactly what the Red Sox need. He's a power hitting threat who can play the corner and field positions, and he's a left-handed bat. He would fit perfectly in the middle of the lineup alongside Trevor Story and Roman Anthony. I mean, again, it's just what the Red Sox need at this point. I'd love if they signed him. Right now, I think the odds would be either you're taking the Dodgers or the field between, signing, these superstar Japanese free agents. So, I'm not going to hold my breath out on that. Obviously, there's other guys at the corner infield spots. Cody Bellinger could play first base. Pete Alonso. Obviously, who knows if Bregman resigns? There's options to be had. At this point, I think the focus is on Murakami because he's been posted. His posting window ends in about a month from now. It's good. He's going to really be one of the first big free agents to sign. So hopefully, Boston can somehow convince him to come to the East Coast.
I think the great thing about it too, and you and I spoke about it prior to this recording, is it kind of fixes this whole thing with Tristan Casas, who's been with the team for quite some time, but he missed 80% of the season because of his
Mhm.
injury. And look, Tristan Casas has been a great addition to Boston, but I think it's time for him to go at this point. Whether that be, moving him completely off the roster or, trading him to God only knows where. It's time for, a fresh pair of cleats. And Munetaka Murakami, I think, is the perfect replacement for him. But who's to say if that'll even happen for so many reasons besides money,
Mhm.
and the Dodgers? But besides that, there's talk of, everybody wants to know if Jarren Duran is going to end up staying. I mean, that's the talk every year, is Jarren Duran going to stay with Boston? But it's kind of up in the air. We were really you and I were really disappointed during the trade deadline, considering there wasn't so many moves. It really hurt Boston during the playoffs. So it's in the front office's hands, but at the end of the day, whether the Red Sox like it or not, there has to be movement. Because if not, the Red Sox are going to have a really tough 2026 season. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, again, and we know this about, this front office, simply put, is just that, they didn't make a ton of moves at the trade deadline because they've been building for the future. Obviously, it would have been nice if they built a little bit more for 2025, but that's water under the bridge at this point. We know that they like to make trades. They're probably not going to splurge too heavily in free agency unless it's for a big guy like Dylan Cease, like Framber Valdez, like Pete Alonso or Murakami. My guess is right now, if you're asking me what do I think the Red Sox are going to do based on what I'm hearing, I think a trade for Freddie Peralta is probably going to be the big move this offseason. Him and Garrett Crochet would be an excellent 1-2 in the rotation. But as things stand, I think you're absolutely right. The Red Sox are a really good team right now. If Roman Anthony's healthy, the Red Sox are probably a playoff team. I mean, that's how good, the core is right now. It's just simply that they need a little bit more supplementation. Obviously, there's no more Rafael Devers. There might be no more Alex Bregman. So you just need to bring in those caliber of players so that, the core that's in place now has the support. But as always, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the topic. What do you hope the Red Sox do this offseason? What are you expecting them to do this offseason? Do you expect more trades than free agency signings? Do you take Craig Breslow at his word? It's kind of hard to at this point after all these years. But as always, we'll be responding to every comment in the comment section below.